if you can keep it. If you can keep it. I never thought in my lifetime that republic would be so fragile. Our democracy being ripped apart at the seams. To the patriots of 250 years ago and the patriots of today, some in this room, I'm here to say we intend to keep our republic and our democracy strong. Now, anyone who believes that eliminating these agreements between ICE and local police will somehow make New York less safe, you're going to hear that one too. Mark my words. You ought to listen to our next speaker. New York City Police Department does not have an agreement with ICE. Guess what? Crime is hitting record lows. They have one of the greatest police departments in the world. They know their lane. They know what they do. They're not turning into ICE agents, terrorizing the streets and the people that they're trying to build trust with. That's not how it works. And we are so fortunate that this department is led by an incredible commissioner who's committed to doing it the right way. Ladies and gentlemen, I present to you New York City Police Commissioner Jessica Tisch. Thank you.
Thank you, Governor Hochul, for your leadership on this issue and for your unwavering support of the New York City Police Department. The NYPD stands with the governor in support of this crucial legislation. Plain and simple, in 2026, local police departments should not be turned into federal immigration agents or pushed into responsibilities that undercut effective local policing. Earlier this month, I was privileged to stand with the governor to announce our 2025 end-of-year crime stats, which reflect exactly that. The lowest number of shooting incidents and shooting victims on record. The safest year on our subways outside the pandemic years since 2009. Major crime down in all 5 boroughs. That is the direct result of this department doing the work that we are tasked with, focusing on crime and public safety. Now, let me be clear. The NYPD does not engage in civil immigration enforcement, period. We do not ask people about their immigration status, and we do not do civil immigration enforcement on behalf of the federal government. At the same time, that approach has never prevented us from working closely with federal partners, the FBI, the DEA, for example, on serious criminal matters. We have deeply important partnerships with federal agencies, and we work side by side with them on a variety of cases that are vital to public safety, including terrorism, violence, guns, and gang cases, regardless of the subject's immigration status. That cooperation is important, and it continues, and this legislation does not interfere with that work. But when federal immigration operations come into a city and generate fear, anger, unrest, local police do not get to walk away from the consequences. They are the ones who stay, who respond to the next 911 call, who work to keep neighborhoods stable, and who have to rebuild trust that may have been damaged by actions that they themselves did not take. That makes the job harder and our communities less safe. Let me be clear, the NYPD is committed to doing the work and building the trust that will ensure the safety of every New Yorker. So thank you again, Governor Hochul. We appreciate your partnership on this issue and your continued commitment to public safety. I'll now introduce Albany Police Chief Brendan Cox.
Thank you, Commissioner. Thank you, Governor Hochul, for your leadership and your unwavering commitment to keeping New Yorkers safe. I've seen that firsthand. There's been historic investments in law enforcement, including technology for the Albany Police Department, the Capital Region, and certainly New York State, strengthening our laws, holding criminals accountable, and committing over $3 billion to public safety since you've been governor. Under Governor Hochul, shootings in New York have fallen to the lowest level in recorded history in 2025. Major crime is declining across every category. New York is one of the safest, largest states in the nation. And we've seen that in Albany. In Albany, we had shootings fall by 60% last year, including shooting victims fall by 60%. But while governor of our state and local partners have made tremendous progress here in New York, Recent events that we've seen in Minneapolis have underscored why we are here today. There's a fundamental truth that every chief in this state knows. Effective policing needs the trust of our communities, between our officers and our communities. That trust is being eroded and broken as innocent American citizens have been killed under the guise of enforcing federal immigration law. These actions have not made anyone safer. Current federal immigration efforts have only created chaos and fear, undermining our democracy and public's confidence. These events have shattered the trust of law enforcement that we rely on to keep our neighborhoods safe. And I just want to note, we've seen that firsthand. We've been out in the community, we've been enforcing laws and trying to ultimately drive down violent crime, only to see people see local law enforcement thinking we're ICE, thinking we're there to take them away and deport them, and having to actually use our skills, which our officers are very skilled at, to de-escalate a situation and let people know that we are not there to do that. We are there actually to make them safer. And I've seen that firsthand with the officers that ultimately I supervise, the skills they have to spend hours to talk somebody out of a house, to let them know that they're there for their safety, not there to deport them. Trust directly impacts public safety. When that trust is broken, when residents fear calling the police, when victims stay silent, when witnesses refuse to come forward, we all become less safe. It's that simple. Trust is not just good policy, it's public safety. That's why local law enforcement should be focused on fighting local crime and keeping our communities safe. We must end these agreements with federal immigration officers. As the commissioner said, we don't need those. We already have partnerships with our federal partners, and we can continue to do those. Banning these agreements can keep us safer, keep law enforcement focused on our serious crimes, and local agencies are most effective when spending time investigating crime, not civil law enforcement, especially when many of us are already facing staffing challenges that we need to address those staffing challenges and address crime, not civil enforcement. I don't enforce tax law. I'm not going to enforce civil enforcement. Let me be clear. This isn't about refusing to cooperate on criminal matters. We will continue to do that. It's about that nexus to public safety.
What you're listening to right there is a news conference with NYPD as well as Albany, New York Police, and of course, Jessica Tisch there. Heard from her as well, and Governor Kathy Hochul, all about crime and ICE enforcement. We do have to step away for a quick 2-minute commercial break, but so much more live coverage on the other side. Stay with us.
Gordon Ramsay himself is going to be cooking our meals. Jeff, what are you guys doing here? No.
I got a stadium with the greatest players of all time. Serena Williams, Aaron Judge, Cristiano Ronaldo, even David Letterman. David Letterman! Good luck. We actually got Madison Beard to go on a date with Nolan. How's the weather?
How's the weather?
All right, Tom, you can start trying. Oh! That happens so fast.
Step inside Stingray Cozy Cafe, where inviting coffee house scenes meet down-tempo lo-fi beats, creating the perfect backdrop for inspiration, focus, and creativity. Tune in to Stingray Cozy Cafe and savor the vibes.
I'm not his wife, I'm his girl. Get the camera out my face. With my best friend.
Join us for an unforgettable journey.
We are taking you to get curious.
Keep on traveling.
Welcome back here on Live Now from Fox. The time 10:36 on the East Coast and 7:36 on the West Coast. You are taking a live look outside of the courthouse at this hour as we're following breaking news. A major development in the case against Luigi Mangione, the man accused of assassinating the CEO of United Healthcare in Midtown Manhattan. A judge agreeing to dismiss a federal murder charge against Mangione. Nate Foy at Fox News joining us now live with the latest here. And Nate, yeah, a lot of information just coming in.
Yeah, so the judge just filed some written opinions ahead of the 11 a.m. federal court hearing where Luigi Mangione will appear. There were two big decisions, one of them for his defense, the other one against. But the biggest news here is that the judge dismissed the two most serious charges against Mangione, murder through use of a firearm and another firearms offense, which means that the death penalty is now off the table in this federal case. And New York State doesn't do the death penalty. So that means that Luigi Mangione will not face the death penalty in either of his two trials. The other big decision that the judge just shared is a denial of the move by Mangione's defense team to suppress evidence. So they had argued that his constitutional rights were violated during his arrest in Pennsylvania with the search of his backpack and the absence of a search warrant. Inside that backpack, police found the ghost gun that prosecutors allege was the murder weapon, as well as his journal. The judge ruled that evidence will be allowed to be presented at trial. So what does this all mean? We just talked about the death penalty now being off the table. It also impacts the timing of this federal trial because we know that the jury selection is scheduled for September. And now that Mangione is not facing the most serious charge of murder through use of a firearm, the timing actually moves up to possibly October for the start of this trial, whereas it would have been January had the judge made the different decision today. It's also competing with the state case where the Manhattan DA's office wants to start the state trial on July 1st. Mangione's defense team hasn't officially responded to that, but they did put out a statement saying that's unrealistic and they need more time to prepare for a trial. So the feds and the state are sort of angling to get this case first. Each of them wants to go first. They'll get more media attention if it's first. And the state argues this is more of a state issue rather than a federal issue. But we'll see exactly how things shake out. With today's ruling, it actually bumps up the timeline relative to what it could have been had Mangione faced that more serious charge. But the big news is that he's no longer facing the death penalty because that was only possible under that most serious charge.
Nate, obviously, as you mentioned, a lot of developments here, but I also wanted to ask you about another situation that's developing as well. A man who was arrested for an alleged jailbreak situation involving Mangione. What can you tell me about that?
Yeah, so Mangione will arrive here today from the Metropolitan Detention Center in Brooklyn. And earlier this week, just kind of a crazy story, a Minnesota man